Hello, good evening. Welcome to Hucknall in Nottingham for the weekly British hockey chat with me, John. Thank you very much for joining in, and it's great to have your company as always on this very cold December evening. Bloody freezing out there, isn't it? If I could ask a favour, if you could retweet this out and get as many people in here as possible to join in the discussion, that would be very much appreciated. If you want to ask questions, feel free to use the chat box at the side. We'll put them up from there. I have got my Twitter open as well at John O'Bullard. If you want to send questions through that way, it will be more than welcome. Got a nice mix tonight, so it should be a really good discussion with lots of different subjects going on. Before I start in earnest, I would like to just do a couple of appeals. If anybody knows Blake McCaughey, he's the young Belfast Giants fan. He has a genetic disorder, which means that he cannot be fed. Probably has to be fed through a tube, so he cannot eat or drink properly. So there was an appeal from his mum earlier today at the Twitter account, which is at Blake's Wheels. So do give that a follow so you can keep track of his progress. She's just asking if hockey fans would like to send Christmas cards to him. So if you're watching this live or if you're watching this on the playback, you can send a Christmas card to Blake. And the address is, it's Blake McCaughey, which is McCaughey, and he's on Squirrel Ward, Great Ormond Street Hospital, London, WC1N3JH. So that's Blake McCaughey, Squirrel Ward, Great Ormond Street Hospital, London, WC1N3JH. I believe he's having an operation in January, so he'll be in Great Ormond Street over Christmas. So if you can pop a Christmas card over to him, they want as many as they can from the hockey communities, as he wants to decorate his room in Great Ormond Street with them, and it will really give him a boost coming into Christmas. So if we could as a hockey community send some cards to him, that would be absolutely fantastic. Another thing is the Cats Whiskers podcast. There was 2 podcasts over the weekend from the road trip to Scotland. So Aunt Tina and Adam were broadcasting. They broadcasted on Friday and yesterday on their way back as well. So both of those podcasts are available to download and listen to now. If you go to the Cats Whiskers Twitter, which is at Cats Whiskers TV, you will be able to get hold of them. Evening to everyone who said hello in the chat. Very well, thank you, Callum, and evening to you all. We'll kick off with the questions. The first one comes from David Stevenson, who is a Panthers fan. And he says, I was wondering what your opinion on fixture scheduling is. I understand the financial logistics behind doing 3 in 3 when going to Scotland and doing it twice. But would Panthers be better doing 3 lots of trips north of the border and playing back-to-back games for an easy on-ice schedule, albeit increasing the travel requirements? So I did a bit of a dig into this with all the other teams in the Elite League. There's only 2 teams who haven't got any triple headers this season, which is Sheffield, who had none scheduled, and Cardiff, who did have one scheduled, but their game in Glasgow was cancelled due to the arena not being ready. So therefore, that they didn't really have a 3 in 3. I think they played on Friday and Sunday. So everyone else has got at least one. And Glasgow have got the worst, but they have got far more games to fit into a shorter period of time. So Glasgow got 3 triple headers and a 4 in 4 at the end of the season, if I read their fixture list right, which, excuse me, is a bit brutal. And then Panthers have 2. Everybody else has 1 or none. So Panthers having 2 triple headers in Scotland. My view on it is that it's good for the fans. It's good to get away. I don't think it's as great for the team. 3 games in 3 nights can be a bit brutal, especially on fatigue. And especially with the rosters being cut this season as well, with only allowing a maximum of 19, including the netminders. So that is going to take its toll, I think. So you have to weigh it up in two different ways. Yes, it's good for the fans, but at the end of the day, we're a team who wants to win hockey games. Does playing 3-3 give us the best chance of winning hockey games? And I don't think it does. And I think that goes for any team as well, especially this season, as I've already mentioned, with the rosters being a lot shorter than they have been in the past. So for me, I would much prefer 3 double headers rather than 2 triple headers, because I think that is better on the team. Yes, it's an extra trip to Scotland, but I think that would be better for the team if it can be worked into the schedule. And it clearly can be worked into the schedule for some teams, because you look at Sheffield. Sheffield haven't got any triple headers whatsoever, which is the best for them. So they are going to go through the season without having any triple header games. Everyone else, well, Cardiff would have done, and then everyone else is. But like I say, Glasgow have got it rough, but they've got so many fixtures to fit in, which is why. I'll come on to that in a while, Cameron, because I've got a question about the triple header. In fact, I've got that next, so I'll save that question for a little while, Cameron. Excuse me, I've got a real bad tickle in my throat. Let's hope that solves it. So yeah, on triple headers, I don't think they're the greatest. Nice for the fans, but not so good for the team, I don't think. Jack Walker, who I think is on, he says, looking back on the triple header, would you have taken 4 out of 6 points given recent form? Yes, I thought 4 out of 6 was a good return, especially the way we've been playing recently. Friday, from what I can understand, we played very well in Glasgow. I have to go on the people who were there, because obviously there was no webcast. I watched the webcast on Sunday night. We looked efficient on Sunday night, but to all intents and purposes, Fife didn't look that great, to be honest. And then I also watched the webcast on Saturday. So there's Cameron saying, what's your opinion of the Stars, not just about Saturday? Saturday, I thought the Stars were excellent. I didn't think Panthers were great. It was clearly Panthers' worst performance of the season by a long way. But Stars were also very good. And they were superior to the Panthers in every single department. Now, you say there, Cameron, about my opinion of the Stars, not just about Saturday. I've seen Stars all twice at the NIC, and then this game in Dundee on Saturday. I think they look a very good side. I'm really surprised that they are where they are in the table, because I think they do look very, very good. I think Omar Pasha has built a really good team, and I think you've built the fan base as well. So there's more people coming through the door, which is a phenomenal achievement by everyone involved at Dundee Stars, and that, I think, is allowing you to bring in better players, because there's more people coming through the door and generating more income. So I think fair play to Dundee and Omar Pasha on that. But yes, Dundee, very, very good side, and they were very, very good on Saturday, although Panthers were very poor. So yeah, to answer that question, Jack, yes, 4 out of 6 was better than I expected, because I think I went for 3 points over the weekend. So I was very happy with 4, and especially how our form has been at home. I think it was 4 very much needed points. So yeah, I was happy with that. Next question is relating to Great Britain under 20s. And that comes from Mark Rackham, who is one half of the Hockey Across the Pond podcast with Caitlin Berry. They have just released a new episode, and it has a quite an in-depth interview with GB under 20 coach Martin Grubb. So do give that a listen. If you go to @HockeyAcrossPond on Twitter, you will find the link to their latest podcast. It is well worth a listen. Oh, excuse me, that tickle is not going away. But Marcas, how do you think the GB under-20s will fare in Romania? There's high expectations as always, but Italy, for one, will be a tough nut to crack. So I just need to bring up the GB under-20 roster, which is here. So it's a very, very strong roster that is going out, and it starts on the 13th of December. Italy are the top seeds in that group. That also contains Spain, Lithuania, and Korea as well. So Italy is going to be the big game that the GB lads will need to get past. But I think it's a very strong team that Martin Grubb is taking out to Romania with him. Several players who play in North America. You've also got a lot of players who have Elite League experience. To pick some of them out, Liam Stenton, who we know well in Nottingham from the Elite Series. Also, Jack Hopkins, who is on two-way between Telford and the Panthers. He will be going out there as well. Alex Graham, the Sheffield forward. Bailey Harewood, who has been doing brilliantly for the Bees in the National League, but is also on the two-way with Cardiff. And also Corey Nielsen's youngest son, Logan, is making his Great Britain debut in this tournament. So a lot of talent out there. It's a very young team now, but obviously because of the lockdowns and because of tournaments not happening, I think Martin Grubb said in the interview that there's only 4 or 5 of this team who actually have any international experience. But that's going to be the same of all the teams that are there. So it's a difficult one because Italy are going to be a tough nut to crack. They came down from the league above in 2019, which was when the last tournament was played, I think. So, that is going to be the big game. But there is a very, very strong Great Britain squad going out there. And don't forget, we need these players to make their mark because these are going to be the players that we need coming through to replace the Great Britain team that are there, that are currently in the top flight. And we need these players to sort of we need these players to take the place of the likes of Robert Dow, Jonathan Phillips, Matthew Myers, who, let's face it, aren't getting any younger. So good luck to them. At the moment, I don't think any sort of streaming or any sort of television coverage has been announced, which is disappointing because I know the last few have been shown live on Free Sports, but nothing has been announced as yet. I really hope it is because it would be great to see that over the next few weeks. So we will see. We'll see. But all the very best of luck to them, to Martin Grubb and his team, and I hope they all do us proud, which I'm very, very sure they will. Let's have a look. Oh, I've got to. And I get a WhatsApp from Chris Ellis, who is clearly watching. He just goes, "Webcast, mate. Sadly, not on Free Sports." So there you have it, exclusively on here. Thanks to Chris Ellis sending me a message. There is going to be a webcast. So brilliant. So yes, we will be able to watch it. Let's hope it's on YouTube or maybe on the IIHF website. But thank you very much to Chris for sending that through, so I can let you all know. That's cracking. So I will look forward to that next week, watching that. Okay, let's have a look at the comments. Cameron saying, yeah, the fan base has practically doubled. This is Dundee since I started going in 2016. I mean, that's a great achievement. Is it not on YouTube? I think it probably is. And something else coming through. I will get to that shortly. So Prozac Kid, I put a question up on Twitter under my real name, and it was 2 questions, and I had a possible solution to it. What are your thoughts? It was a very long question, the second one, so I'm not going to cover that tonight. I'm going to save that one, and I'm going to And I'm going to discuss it when I have a bit of a quieter week with questions, if that's okay with you. But I have got your other question in to talk about later. Sorry, this tickle is really starting to annoy me now. Yes, it is on YouTube from Chris. I'm led to believe the stream will be free on YouTube, which is great news. So you can watch Greeby Under 20s for free on YouTube from next week. Check out my Twitter, check out the Team GB Hockey Twitter, Ice Hockey UK Twitter, because I'm sure that the links will be posted out there. Tanya saying, I was very impressed with Stars, went to every home game before Clan started. Sanch and Coombs are fad boy players. They have got a good side, Dundee. I really like some of the players they've got there. Very, very good team. Anyway, talking of Tanya, we're moving on to your question next. So Tanya sent a question about my views on the officiating and the Clan Blaze game. Even the commentators said it was boarding, even though Clements was remorseful. You see the ref telling Campbell to get up. The guy's gone face first and dislocated his jaw. Then CJ Mott taken out and the ref fails to blow the whistle to protect him. Be interested to hear what you think. Tanya put these on her Twitter, which is at Tanya Reid 107. So go and have a look at both these incidents. So an incident in the Blaze game, you've got Colin Campbell of Glasgow going towards the boards. David Clements comes behind him, goes through the numbers. It's not a hard check, but it's definitely boarding away from the boards. Campbell hits the boards and just hits the deck. David Clements, to his credit, realizes what he's done, crouches over to make sure that Campbell is okay, but he's on the floor. But the ref plays play on. Now, I'm really surprised that Dops have not had a look at that, to be perfectly honest, because it was obviously an injury on the play. But it looked a bad check. It didn't look there was a great deal of intent in it, but it still led to an injury. But the referee is just telling Campbell to get up. And from what Tanya says, it appears he's broken his jaw or dislocated his jaw, which is a bad injury. I mean, he did go face first into the boards. It wasn't very nice. And then later in the game, CJ Mott is taken out by a Clan forward. Now, the camera pans just at the end. So if you go on Tanya's Twitter feed and have a look at the incident, the camera pans, so it just catches the edge of it. So I don't see if it was a run up into Mott, but Mott stays down and play just carries on. Now, anybody who's regular viewer of these hockey chats will know that I don't like to criticize referees much. I don't like to criticize officials, but in those two cases, the officials are right there when the incidents happen, and they don't do anything about it. So hopefully that will be looked at, and hopefully some training will be given, but we will have to wait and see. But yeah, I do suggest you go on Tanya's Twitter feed, which is at Tanya Reid, REID 107, and take a look at those two incidents and have a look and see what you think. But I didn't think they were that great, and yeah, not a good example of great officiating, if you ask me, unfortunately. What's that? CHL. Did I watch the CHL quarterfinal tonight in Lexon's 2 for London 5? No, I didn't. I was doing a bit of preparation for this, actually, so I didn't get a chance to watch it, unfortunately. And also, I'd like to spend some time with my daughter in the early evening, so I didn't have it on this time, I'm afraid. So I didn't see it. But I do understand Rouen got an excellent 3-3 draw in Finland, and knowing their rink and having been to a CHL game in their rink, that place will be rocking for the second leg. So if that's on Free Sports, that'll definitely be worth a watch. Okay, so next question comes from Peter at It's Science 69. I believe Peter is a Fife fan, but I'm not 100% sure. And he says, is hockey becoming bland? Crowds down in a lot of places, physicality being refereed out of the game. Old-time hockey fans getting bored with no hits or fights. After 40 seasons, I am close to giving up. Is the game now boring? And this is something we've been seeing a lot in the questions that I've been receiving over the past few weeks. People are getting, I suppose, bored of the game because a lot of the physicality is being taken out of it, unfortunately. Now, I love a fight, and I think most people love a fight. You've only got to hear an arena or a rink when a fight starts, or there's a bit of pushing and shoving. There's a definite increase in the atmosphere. There's a lift in the crowd. There's a lift in the noise. It gets people going. Now, I know that for safety reasons, they're trying to take it out of the game, and I get that. But is the game getting too sanitized now? And I think Peter is not on his own in feeling the way he does in that the game is now boring. And I'm going to bring in the next question, which comes from Greg Crooks, which said, people complained recently that Fife fans have lost the edge a bit, as it used to be a fortress to visit with an intimidating atmosphere. Has the family sport aspect sanitized the whole of the Elite League to a panto? Should a bit of banter be encouraged? So you've got Peter saying, it's boring, and then Greg saying that has it lost its edge? And my good mate Adam Reddish was up in Scotland at the weekend, and he was saying how, I think he put a tweet out on Sunday night, that how different it seemed in Fife because it was very, very quiet on Sunday night. Now, I know Panthers were beating them and they was coming off a 3-0 defeat the previous night to Belfast, but it is a very intimidating rink to go in. And I know when I've been, the last time I went was for a playoff quarter-final game, and the atmosphere in there was electric. That Saturday night I was there, it was absolutely electric. And it'll be sad if that has been lost from the rink. What Greg says about the family sport aspect, I don't think that has sanitized it, because for as long as I've been going, and I went to my first game when I was 8 years old, and I'm now 49. So the family sport aspect has always been there. It's always been billed as a family sport, despite all the fighting, and especially the fighting that used to go off in sort of the 80s and 90s. It was all still billed as a family sport. So I don't think that really has anything to do with it. I think it's more to do with the sanitization of the game, where sort of physical play and fighting seems to be being eradicated from the sport. Now, don't get me wrong, the pantomime fights that you used to get, and especially the ones you used to get when sort of Sean McMorrow was here playing for Belfast and Dundee, where they just dropped the gloves and see who the hardest one was. There was nothing that really led up to fight. I wasn't a big fan of that at all. But where they say a hit or a bad hit and someone drops the gloves immediately to sort of take issue with that, I don't mind that at all. And that, I think, is what gets people going. A glorious mid-ice check is what gets people going. A great check into the boards. People like that. And I hate to see that come away from the game. And I think there is something in what Peter says that, is it getting boring? But I think it depends where you go and watch the game as well. I think some teams are probably more physical than others, and I will come on to that in a question a little later. But yeah, I think, I don't know, what do people watching think? Do you think that it's getting boring? Do you think the physicality being taken out of the game is a good or bad thing? I mean, let me know. And it's a discussion after all, but I think that there is certainly something in what Peter says, but other people may feel differently. Other people may go to see the skill and the great stick handling, but I don't think you can beat a little bit of rough stuff, a little bit of niggle, a little bit of unpleasantness sometimes. Talking about Fife, what happened with Shaber? Who knows? Who knows? I genuinely get asked the question about Shaber every week, and I don't know. I don't know what the story is, but Fife obviously aren't saying anything. So until they say something, you can only speculate, which is never really a good thing. McGrattan could come back tomorrow if only. I think he's been retired, hasn't he, since he played for Panthers? But McGrattan didn't like Sheffield much, did he? Still doesn't. Guillepin wouldn't see the end of any game now. I think he would, because he tailored his game back, didn't he? But yeah, I mean, you remember when Guillepin came in, he got, was it 2-3 bans very early on in his Panthers career until 2011. But yeah, them sort of players, you wouldn't see them really now, and a lot of them were considered the entertainers, the likes of McGrattan, Cam Jansen. I mean, the way that he used to lift a crowd and lift a team when he came onto the ice. Is there room in this sort of new way that hockey is for players like that anymore? That's that'd be sad if you didn't get entertaining players. Jansen as a future head coach, I think I'd be very surprised, Jack. I think he is he's on a very good thing in North America with what he's doing with the media. So I can't see that, to be perfectly honest. Plus, I mean, he's not really got any coaching experience, to be fair, has he? He's gone into the media after the game. He's not gone into coaching. So World Championship tournaments are played under IIHF rules, much less physical, and GB games are always pretty exciting. Yeah. I mean, that was one thing that always used to be said about GB in tournaments at any level, wasn't it? That, they would run into trouble because the IIHF rules, which are, as Chris says, much less physical, and we do still play what would be regarded as a physical North American style of hockey in this country. And the great GB teams did used to run foul of that quite a lot. Rumours before that Brog Wilson would be. I can't see that, to be honest, now, Jack. Because I think he's now a personal trainer. I don't think he's involved in hockey, or he might be involved as a personal trainer, but I don't think he's involved in a coaching capacity at all. Anyway, let's move on. Next question comes from Adam at AdamRP89, who I believe is the Prozac kid. And he says, why have the Panthers crowd for the most part become mute, and how can we get people back involved? Yeah, it's very quiet, but I think arenas are very quiet. I think the atmosphere at Nottingham is pretty similar to the atmosphere at Sheffield, which is pretty similar to the atmosphere at Belfast. I think the bigger the arena, the less the atmosphere is, to be honest. I've always said I prefer rinks. The perfect sort of hockey atmosphere for me was what you used to get in the Big Blue Tent when Cardiff played there. Because that place, even when half full, was loud and was a great atmosphere. But you had the crowd closer to the ice. It was a smaller rink. I go on about it, but the old Nottingham rink was an astonishingly brilliant place to go and watch hockey. Low roof, 3,000 people in. Just amazing atmosphere in there. But, you have to modernise, and we've got a nice, new, comfortable arena. Well, it's not that new anymore. It's 20 years old, but it still feels new. But yeah, it's not a great atmosphere, and I think all the arenas are the same. I hate to say it, but it comes from Simsy. I mean, Simsy does get the crowd going at points, but then he just goes deathly quiet again until he says something to get them going again. It's not organic and it's not constant. You go to the rinks and you tend to get more organic chants. And you tend to get that away from home as well, to be fair. People want us to win at home. I don't think the crowd does anything to spur them on, bar block 19 and the odd one or two. The other blocks were more. Yeah, but to be honest, Adam, you've got to have people, you've got to have people who also you've got to have something happen on the ice to sometimes kickstart something in the crowd. And it's like what I went on about before. If there's a bit of pushing and shoving, if there's a glorious check, or if there's a fight, look how that gets the crowd up. What happens in the crowd is generally led by something that happens on the ice. But also, away from home tends to be better as well. I mean, I remember the season we won the league in 12-13. We were an away game in Coventry. And a few people may remember the sort of Hershey 5-hole chant. And it was just started by 2 or 3 people right at the front of the Panthers block singing like the Hershey, 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 5-0, 5-0, 5-0. And they started doing it. And then it sort of grew and grew and grew that by the end of the game, you had two blocks of Panthers fans all doing it. It was brilliant. But I think you can get that in away games because there's sort of that siege mentality a bit. And people, you've got sort of people who are chanting are together. Poor ice product, Boars fans. And that's the thing. It's like I say, that it's what happens on the ice instantly relates to what happens in the crowd. If something happens on the ice to lift the crowd, then that feeds back onto the ice, and then something else happens and feeds back, and then you've got a nice vicious circle going. Unfortunately, as I say, the game is getting a bit sanitized, and you don't tend to get those sort of flashpoints that get the crowd, invested and get them loud again. I remember a game against Sheffield. It's quite a few years ago, and it was when Kevin Bergin was playing for the Panthers and Jeff Legui was playing for the Steelers. And very early on in the game, I think in the first couple of minutes, Kevin Bergin absolutely creams Jeff Legui into the boards, and beautiful check right into the boards. Crowd are up, and they never stopped. And Panthers put in a great performance, and I think won 5 or 6-1. Mark Lever scored a hat trick, and that's something you need, something to kickstart. If it happens early, and then the pressure can be kept up, then the noise is kept up. But it's very, bench clearance. Blimey, I remember that night. But it's very difficult for a crowd. And I think the efforts of Block 19 are fantastic, and they certainly cannot be disrespected at all. But they are a bit on their own. You need more and more people, probably around different parts of the arena, to do it, to try and get something going. And it is very, very difficult in a big arena like that, I think. And this will lead on to the next question that comes from Will Hobson, who says, opinion on where is best to sit to watch live hockey, lower down or higher up? Personally, I prefer to be at ice level. It always seems faster and more exciting. Well, mostly. Yeah. You see, at the arena, I'm in block 13, high up. I can see the whole ice surface from where I am at the NIC. It's a great seat. But I do think there's something in what Will says about being lower down. It does seem faster. When I've been to Manchester to commentate, and obviously it's a lot smaller bar. I'm in the corner. It's a lot louder, even though there's less people. It does seem faster and more exciting there. And I don't know whether that's perception, but I think a lot depends on where you sit, and then also a lot depends on the rink itself as well. I've already mentioned the Big Blue Tent, but that place used to be rocking now. Wasn't the greatest rink. The sight lines weren't the best, and it's the same in Manchester, but it's loud in those places. Fife was loud. It seems to be losing that edge a little bit. But every time I've been to Fife, the atmosphere in there has been absolutely superb. Dundee as well, smaller rink. Coventry, smaller rinks tend to have better atmospheres. And whether that is because you are closer to the action and it does appear faster and more exciting, I'm not sure. But I mean, I commentated on 2 Manchester games this season, and I felt they were both really, really exciting games, even though one of them was a Challenge Cup game that had absolutely nothing riding on it. And then their league game against Coventry was a superb game. I really, really enjoyed that. But I don't know. Is it perception because you're closer to the action? It's a really good question, Will. A really good question. And I suppose it's always going to come down to personal preference. But for me, I like to sit high up at the NIC because I can see everything. But at the same time, at Manchester, I like being lower down because you get the atmosphere and you get a feeling that you're in the game. So yeah, really good question. Really good question. But I think as anything, it is going to come down to personal preference. Final question for tonight. So if you've got any more, pop them to me on Twitter, which is at John O'Bullard. I am monitoring that. And also, if you want to pop them in the chat box, you can do. So I will grab them from there. But the last question comes from Eric Holland, who is a Steelers fan. He says, many teams seem to be getting better results on the road than at home this season. Why could that be? So I did a bit of a deep dive into this a little earlier, which is another reason why I wasn't watching the CHL game. And I looked at every team and I looked at the home and away records. Currently, 4 teams out of the 10 in the Elite League have better away records than they do home records. They are Coventry, Glasgow, Nottingham and Sheffield. Sheffield actually 100% away from home, so they haven't lost a game away from home yet, which is a phenomenal record. Second best away record is Panthers, who are 0.75 away from home. 4 games, only lost 1. Then the home records. So currently the best home record is Belfast, who are at 0.75, and Manchester, who are also at 0.75. Then Guildford at 0.700. So Sheffield 0.625 at home and Nottingham 0.500 at home. Now, Nottingham, Sheffield are big arena teams, lot of expectation on them. And I think Tim Wallace has actually said this before, probably not this season, but yeah, I think he certainly said it in the 1920 season, is that perhaps the team feel a little bit less pressure playing away from the NIC. And I can sort of understand that. And I think certainly the big arena teams where there is that much expectation at home, but probably not as much away from home, allows them to play with a little bit more freedom away from home. So I think there could be something in what Eric says, but you know, looking at it overall, 6 of the teams have better home records than they do away. No excuse as a pro hockey player. Step up for your fans, not just for fans. Step up for yourself. If you're a professional, play like a professional. That's what you've got to do. You know, yeah, that's definitely what you've got to do. Don't just step up for the fans. Step up for yourself and for everybody. Fans do pay good money to watch. They do. But at the same time, Jack, that also depends on the budget that the coach is given to put a team together. And if the team is not given as much budget as they probably should be, then can you blame the players or the coach if they are as not of the quality that they perhaps should be? And that's something else to think about. There is one more question, actually, and I missed it, and I do apologise. And it comes from John at third line 27. And he says, what are Panthers missing? And my views on the injured reserve players. I think Tho has been a huge boost on the blue line and a player I'd like to keep. Jokinen has been very underwhelming. Also, any roster changes you will make moving forward once we are back to full strength. Roster changes, unless you can find better, I don't see the point in changing the roster. If there is a better player available, then by all means, bring a better player in, because that is going to improve the team. I don't see the point of changing players just for change's sake if they're not going to improve the team. So that would be the first thing for me. Are they going to improve the team? Now, the coaching staff have got a decision to make, because when Steve Lee comes back to fitness, you're going to have 7 D-men. And 7 doesn't really go. So you're going to have Lee, Tetlow, and then you've got 5 imported D-men if we keep Tho. So you've got Tho, Matheson, Brassard, Norrish, and Doherty. So out of all them, who's the import that makes way? Because it will be an import that has to make way. For me, I will keep Tho because I like you, John, I've been impressed with him. But then which of the defensemen has to go? Process of elimination. Brassard and Norrish I've actually been quite impressed with. Matheson is the assistant coach, and Matheson is one of the few players on the ice I feel who is capable of making something happen, making something a game-winning stop or a game-winning pass or even a game-winning goal. Tetlow needs to be taken out for a while. He's been shocking. Oh, I don't agree with that. I actually think that Tetlow has used his size really, really well this season. I don't like seeing players get cut, but at the same time, who makes that team better? Is it Tho or is it Doherty? And for me, it's Tho. Therefore, Doherty will be the one that makes way. Apologies if you lost connection there. It appears to be back. I have no idea what happened. So yeah, so that is the one change I would make at the minute. Jokinen, jury's still out for me. He has got a few assists, but I've got to say I haven't really noticed him that much in the games that I've seen him play. And forwards, you need to notice, I think. So 2C's fab for Panthers. I like him. Panthers top goal scorer in the league, I believe, at the minute. Can't fight, bless him, but at least he's willing to drop the gloves, unlike some other agitators around the league. But he's not a great fighter, is he? But he's willing, and I think Tim Wallace talked about the fight he had with Stevenson on Friday, that it lifted the team, it gave the team a boost. So there you go. You can't knock it if it's making the team play better or giving the team a lift. Can't knock it at all. Okay, any more questions before I shuffle off and try and get something on this throat of mine, because it is tickling like hell. Tetlow has been losing the puck right, left, and centre. I've noticed keeps falling over for no reason. I thought Tetlow was really good on Sunday night on the game I watched. I don't think anybody had a good game on Saturday, to be fair. And on Friday, I can't comment because there wasn't a webcast. So, but yeah, personally, I think you're being a little unfair on Tetlow there. But we all have different opinions of players. So I'm sure there'll be people who will not agree with what I've just said about Taylor Doherty. But yeah, there you go. It's all about opinions. If we all thought the same, it'd be a very boring world. Okay, any more questions before I shuffle off? Hopefully I will be back next week, tickle and throat permitting. Hopefully it's all sorted by then. But thank you so much for joining me once again. Thank you so much for sending so many great questions in. It's what makes the show what it is. Don't have a show if you don't send questions in, and it's great to see so many of you involved on the chat and joining the discussion. It makes the 45 minutes absolutely fly by, so thank you very, very much for that. Okay, I'm going to get off. Have a great week. Enjoy your hockey wherever you are watching it this week, and I will hopefully speak to you again next week. So until then, take care and goodbye.